Welcome to USA Rift. To stay updated on our latest deep dives, subscribe to the channel, like this video, and comment below on what you thought. You can also support our research by becoming a channel member. Think of a portfolio as a highly stressed mechanical system. Under stable conditions, it functions perfectly, but under market pressures, the entire distribution architecture shatters. We have a historical precedent for this. The stagflation era of the 1970s subjected static withdrawal models to a combination of high inflation and suppressed yields, creating the ultimate stress test for retirement distributions. That stress test isolates a specific window of vulnerability, known as the fragile decade. This is the precise 5-year period immediately preceding and the 5-year period immediately following your retirement date. During this decade, your portfolio balance is at absolute peak. When you combine that maximum balance with the initiation of regular withdrawals, you create an environment of maximum vulnerability to market downturns. Sequence of returns risk is a mathematical certainty. A severe contraction early in retirement destroys static distribution models, regardless of what your average long-term yields look like on paper. Mainstream retirement planning rests on 3 pillars: the 3-bucket strategy, the 4% rule, and simple Social Security break-even charts. However, these tools are behavioral heuristics, mental shortcuts that fall apart when subjected to advanced Monte Carlo simulations. There is a significant gap between the goal of behavioral comfort and the necessity of uncompromising mathematical optimization. Our objective is to engineer a retirement distribution architecture entirely from first principles, stripping away assumptions to reach a verifiable foundation. This requires abandoning simple analogies and embracing granular opportunity cost mathematics. Preserving terminal wealth and securing an income floor requires a different approach than the industry standard. The mechanics of the modern 3-bucket strategy involve dividing assets into short-term cash, medium-term bonds, and long-term equities. But in practice, these buckets simply dissolve into a standard asset allocation pie chart. Michael Kitces performed a historical rolling period analysis to see if this bucketing actually changed the outcome for retirees. The data proved that buckets produce nearly identical terminal wealth distributions to a simple total return portfolio with regular rebalancing. Beyond the lack of an edge, there is the specific mathematical hazard of cash drag within that short-term bucket. If you hold 5 to 7 years of expenses in cash earning 4%, you are incurring a heavy opportunity cost. Contrast that 4% against historical equity returns of 8% to 10% over a 25-year retirement horizon. Over decades, the compound loss of purchasing power on that excess cash due to long-term inflation is significant. The core execution flaw occurs during a bear market. If you sell equities to refill the cash bucket while markets are down, you lock in the very losses the system was meant to prevent. The bucket strategy is a behavioral framing tool that offers zero mathematical alpha and introduces dangerous cash drag. Precise portfolio buckets often collide with the reality of strict federal tax codes. Under Secure 2.0, required minimum distributions, or RMDs, now begin at age 73, rising to age 75 for those born in 1960 or later. The IRS calculates these distributions based on your total traditional IRA and 401k balances, regardless of how you have labeled your buckets. This creates a scenario where an RMD might force a liquidation from a growth-oriented asset class during a severe market downturn. That forced liquidation completely overrides the intended sequence of any bucket strategy. Strategic Roth conversions in the years prior to RMD age are the only effective mathematical defense against this clash. A distribution strategy constructed without mapping directly to the IRS tax calendar is structurally compromised. Dynamic, performance-based withdrawal systems are the analytical counter to static models like the 4% rule. This is the Guyton-Klinger guardrails logic matrix, which uses horizontal upper and lower thresholds to govern withdrawals. The lower guardrail is triggered when strong portfolio growth causes the withdrawal rate percentage to drop below the threshold. This dictates a specific action, an automatic mathematical raise in income. Conversely, the upper guardrail is triggered when a market downturn pushes the required withdrawal percentage too high. The defense mechanism is an immediate, temporary cut in discretionary spending. We can see the power of this approach in the 2025 Morningstar State of Retirement Income data. Morningstar compared a baseline 3.9% fixed withdrawal rate against the dynamic guardrail output. The dynamic model mathematically supports a significantly higher initial withdrawal rate of 5.2%. By making these micro-adjustments in spending, the system absorbs sequence risk continuously, rather than allowing permanent capital depletion. Dynamic guardrails optimize initial yield by systematically responding to market reality, whereas static rules simply hope to survive it. Financial theory is divided between probability-based total return and contractual safety-first models. Wade Pfau's RISA matrix, the Retirement Income Style Awareness Profile, helps map these preferences for each individual. For those prioritizing safety, we look at liability matching, mapping guaranteed, inflation-adjusted cash flows to exact future spending needs. A 30-year TIPS ladder, Treasury Inflation-Protected Securities, is designed for this exact purpose. TIPS are not used for capital appreciation. They are engineered specifically to lock in an absolute income floor. Because the principal adjusts directly with CPI data, this perfectly neutralizes inflation risk. The U.S. Treasury acts as the counterparty, enabling this risk-free floor. Single premium immediate annuities, or SPIAs, are an alternative for creating mortality-credited income. Similarly, deferred income annuities function as longevity insurance for spending needs further in the future. Total return models offer the probability of wealth, but only contractual liability matching guarantees survival against a catastrophic sequence of returns. Social Security claiming is the most misunderstood optimization lever in retirement. Most retirees face a binary decision: claim early at age 62 or delay for maximum credits at age 70. Traditional cumulative benefits break-even analysis relies on a mathematical framework that is structurally incomplete. The basic deferral calculation, assuming $2,000 a month for 4 years totals $96,000, ignores several massive variables. The first is the cost of living adjustment, or COLA. Because COLA applies to your base benefit, delaying for a larger benefit increases the dollar value of every future inflation adjustment. Then there is the complexity of spousal benefits and survivor optimization, which the 2D model cannot calculate. Finally, standard break-even math assumes you are simply stockpiling cash rather than considering the potential growth of those assets. These 2D charts are deceptive because they fail to account for the time value of money and compounding variables. Growth on growth represents the ultimate opportunity cost in retirement. When you claim Social Security at 62, it allows you to preserve an equivalent amount of your invested portfolio. To find the true break-even age, we must plot Social Security against an exponential curve representing that retained portfolio growth. If those preserved portfolio assets compound at a conservative 5% growth rate, the math changes. That 5% opportunity cost immediately pushes the true break-even age into the mid-80s. If we recalculate assuming a 7% portfolio growth rate, the mathematical break-even point moves to roughly age 90. Finally, consider an 8% growth rate. At an 8% portfolio return, the compounding growth on growth means the delayed claiming strategy may never actually catch up. Optimizing Social Security is not a universal mandate to delay. It is a mathematical trade-off based on your specific portfolio yield assumptions. Let's synthesize this into a cohesive retirement architecture. Layer 1 is your safety-first floor, using TIPS and optimized claiming for essential expenses. Layer 2 is a total return portfolio with dynamic guardrails for discretionary spending. Here, the bucket strategy becomes merely a behavioral reporting overlay. This architecture must be continuously synchronized with the IRS tax calendar. Strategic Roth conversions are the key to protecting this framework from RMD interference. True sequence risk mitigation is achieved by isolating absolute liabilities from equity volatility, while allowing dynamic rules to dictate yield. Relying on industry-standard heuristics is a disservice to terminal wealth. Practitioners and DIYers alike should subject their plans to uncompromising data and first principles modeling. If you found this breakdown valuable, subscribe to USA Rift, like the video, and leave questions in the comments. To support deep dive technical content like this, please consider becoming a channel member. True wealth preservation requires moving past comfortable illusions to face the math. See you in the next analysis.